Hello, you are listening to Disney Travel Tales, episode number 52. This is a space where you can escape the real world and immerse yourself in someone's recent Disney trip. I'm Jenny, and today I am talking with Rebekah about her family's September Walt Disney World trip. This was their first trip as a family, and it was such a pleasure talking with her. If you've ever wondered what Disney is like in the rain, then this is the episode for you. Make sure to visit us on Instagram at Disney Travel Tales to see pictures from Rebekah's trip and to keep up to date with Disney news and what's going on with the podcast. To never miss a new episode of the podcast, make sure to subscribe wherever you listen. If you're wanting to plan a Disney vacation, I would love to help you. Last year, I had the pleasure of helping first-time visitors have a magical Disney vacation, and I want to help you. Let me do all the hard work so you can just sit back and enjoy your vacation. All of my services are complimentary to my clients. Email me at jenny@trolleylanetravel.com or check the show notes for a link to a form to fill out. Okay, so let's get going. Imagine yourself riding your favorite ride at Magic Kingdom. Mine is the People Mover, and let's go. Okay, so I am here today with Rebekah. Rebekah, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to talk to you about your family's trip that y'all just took in September. So why don't we start off with you telling us a little bit about yourself and who you traveled with and what your experience with Disney vacations is.
Okay, so I'm Rebekah, and my husband is John, and we have three daughters. They're Cora, she's 8, and then Ada is 7, and then Evie is 3. And so my husband and I have traveled to Disney before, but this was our first time as adults traveling and being responsible for, making the plans and getting around and all of that. He has been to Disney World once before, and then I had been to Disney World twice in high school, and then Disneyland once in high school, and then Disneyland Paris once when I was a freshman in college. So I've done Disney, but it's so different than what it was like 15 years ago.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So we really felt like it was mostly new experiences, and it was awesome. Yeah.
That's wonderful. So this was your kid's first time?
Yes, it was.
That's so exciting. I love talking to people who take their kids for the first time. It's so exciting.
Yes, they had an amazing time.
That's great. Okay, so y'all traveled September 12th through 18th of this year, 2022. And y'all did 4 days at the park, and you had a park hopper, but you didn't actually use your park hopper, right?
Yes, that's right. We thought that we would need it, but it ended up that the one day that we probably would have used it, the rain affected our plans. And then the next day that we knew for sure that we were going to use it, we totally changed plans because the kids had been so bummed out about the rain the day before. So we just didn't get used.
Yes, that lovely Florida weather.
Yes.
So unpredictable. I mean, right as we're recording this, I just hopped on to Instagram and there's like a hurricane headed right towards Disney.
Yes, I've been seeing people freak out about this for quite a while, and I'm like, I'm so glad we're not there this week.
Yes, I feel so bad for the people who had planned their trips. Oh, but hopefully they get it all figured out.
Yes.
Okay, and y'all did use Genie Plus, right?
Yes, we used Genie Plus on all 4 of our days, and I felt like it was really very helpful on definitely our Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios. And then Epcot, we used it, but I don't think it was essential. And then we actually ended up not going to Animal Kingdom because we did another Magic Kingdom day.
Okay. So when you booked your package, were you allowed to book Genie Plus with your package at the time when you booked it?
I could have, but did not because I still didn't, I was so overwhelmed by it. And so I didn't book it. I was like, I'll just wait and do some more research. And then I wished I had, but I did not.
Okay. Yeah, because now you can't, but there was a time when you could.
Yes.
All right. So y'all flew to Orlando. How was that? Like, what airlines did you use, and was it a smooth transition?
Yeah, so we live in Texas, so we flew with Southwest from Love Field to Orlando, and it was just fine. It was an uncomplicated flight. Flying is not my favorite, and especially not with children, so I was pleased that it went well.
That's wonderful. Yes, I'm also in Texas, and Southwest is the best way to fly out of Texas.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah. I just, every time we fly something else, I'm like, I should have just flown Southwest.
Mm-hmm. And they have great nonstop flights to Orlando.
They do, yes.
Okay, so once you got to Orlando, how did you get to your resort?
So we took Sunshine Flyer. We had booked it before, and when they had a summer promotion going on, so all the kids traveled for free, which you can't beat that.
No, that's so good. Is that why you chose this over like Mears?
Yes.
Okay.
I had a friend that's going again, and she was like, "There's a deal, and it ends today," so I booked it right then.
That's wonderful. So, what was your impression of Sunshine Flyers?
They were great. Even if we had to pay for the kids, like I felt like it was a good price, and they were very quick. They gave very detailed instructions on where to find them, which again, with traveling, it makes me so anxious. So I liked having the details given, and we only waited 15 minutes for our bus to be there, and it was clean and efficient, and they had cute little cartoons and stickers for the kids. So it was a lot of fun.
That's really nice. So y'all stayed at the Art of Animation Resort. When you were on the bus, I'm assuming you were with people who were staying at all different resorts?
No, they actually just ran from our resort from the airport to Art of Animation. They had other buses running, like I know that they did like Beach Club and some of the other ones like other local resorts, but there were enough of us staying at Art of Animation that it was just us.
That's so nice. Wow.
Yes.
So y'all just were the only stop.
30 minutes. Yes.
Oh, that's perfect.
Very quick.
So about what time of day did y'all arrive on that Monday?
We got to Orlando at like 9:45 in the morning.
Oh,
so
wow.
we had flown out super early. Yes. It was a painfully early morning.
Oh my gosh. Yes, that is very early, but that's also nice to get there early.
Yes. Yes.
So once you got to your resort, was your room ready?
It was. So we were still at the airport, and like at 9:50, they texted and they were like, "Hey, we don't have a room for you," which I was not surprised by because it was so early. I mean, that was before checkout had even happened at Art of Animation. And so we grabbed some breakfast and went down to Sunshine Flyer. And then by, 11 o'clock, I had a text, like 10:45, something like that I had a room ready.
That's so
before
nice.
We were even there. Yeah.
Wow, that is definitely some pixie dust on y'all's trip that day.
Yes, it was.
And y'all stayed in the Lion King suite. Is this a suite that you chose when you booked it?
Yes, it was.
And what was your impression of it?
We loved it. It was there was so much room. I mean, not too much, but like we could have put extra people in there, or we left our double stroller like up and in the corner the whole time. And we really liked it.
Yes, these rooms are so perfect for families with the 2 bathrooms. They're so spacious. Yes. If you can...
It was really nice every night, just like shoving the kids in the bathtub, and, the older one would go to the shower and we could just run through baths so fast.
Oh, yeah. Highly recommend these rooms for families. And this resort is so cute. What did your kids think about the resort?
They loved it so much. That was basically the reason we were like, let's get there early on the first day, is so that we can just walk around and see the whole resort.
That's very smart.
We loved it.
Yeah. Okay. So after you got to your room and stuff, what did y'all do that day?
Hey, parents, do your kids listen to podcasts? Do they like solving mysteries and flexing their imaginations? Mysteries at Riddleton Elementary is a new children's mystery podcast. Your kid can join Billy Bonanza and Susie Sockington on exciting and wacky adventures as they attempt to solve mysteries around their school. Mysteries at Riddleton Elementary is available now on all podcast platforms.
So I had rented a stroller from Orlando for families. So we just went down and met them. They showed up like, I don't know, 10 minutes after we got there. So very soon. So ran back down there, grabbed the stroller, unpacked, and then we went and explored the resort. And then we had lunch at Landscape of Flavors and just a simple something, some pizza. And then we went and swam at the big blue pool.
What was your impression of the pool?
We loved it. We went and looked at the other two pools. That first day that we got there, they were actually painting the buildings around the Cars pool.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't have it open. And it was so cute, but it was just far enough away from our room that it was enough of a hassle to get over to it.
Mm-hmm.
And Little Mermaid, that end of Art of Animation is quite a hike.
Yes.
So we did not go down there. We loved the big blue pool. I loved that I, for the most part, could just put the kids in it and that they were at a safe depth the whole time.
Yes.
And there was tons of room. It never felt crowded. We really liked the pool.
Yeah, so it's actually the largest pool at Disney, at a Disney resort.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's really nice.
I had heard that once upon a time they used to play music like under the water in the pool, but they do not. I checked.
They don't? That's so disappointing. Oh.
Yeah. I had heard that it was something about like kids were holding their breath and staying underwater too long, which I could totally see.
Yeah. That's not safe.
No, yes. So, but
good.
It was really cute and we loved it a lot.
Oh, that's so much fun. So what'd y'all do after y'all swam?
So we swam until lightning, ran us out of the pool, but we'd gotten, a good hour and a half or 2 hours in there. And so then we went back to the room and cleaned up. And that night we had reservations at Beach Club for Beaches and Cream. So cleaned up and went and caught the Skyliner.
That's so fun. So for anyone that is not familiar with the Skyliner, how did you get from Art of Animation to Beaches and Cream? Because Beaches and Cream is at the Beach Club Resort, which is by Epcot. So how did y'all make it over there?
So we just took the Skyliner from there at Art of Animation all the way over to Epcot. And then we got off and then just walked over to Beach Club. About
how long of a walk do you think it was?
I think it was about a 10-minute walk. Mm-hmm. It really wasn't bad. It did start raining while we were walking, and I did not plan ahead very well. I knew better than this, but I was like, we're just going to dinner. I'm just going to take my little purse and nothing else. And so we had no rain gear, so we were absolutely drenched by the time we rolled in at Beach Club. So we had stopped and hid under some trees for a while. It was like my kids. My middle one especially really hates getting wet. Mm-hmm. So she's like, Mom, I'm getting wet. And I'm like, yeah, we all are, honey. Right. Everyone is. So
you're like, look around.
Disney World. Yes. I was like, this is what it's like. Just let's accept it now. We'll carry the ponchos and never make this mistake again. But we got there and we actually walked to the front doors of the resort and got some towels to dry off before dinner.
Oh, that's really nice. It's so funny. The same thing happened to me when I was at Disney is in your mind, I will always carry my poncho. But then sometimes you don't actually always carry your poncho and then you're kind of stuck. But it's like, you should.
I was like, I looked at the map. I was like, it's going to take us 30 minutes to get there. It looked clear. I was like, it'll be fine. We don't need the rain gear. That's so excessive to carry all this stuff. Yeah. But no, we really should have.
Yes, especially in September. If you're at Disney, always have it because you just never know.
Yes. Yeah.
So how was y'all's dinner at Beaches and Cream?
It was so good. We really just went so that we could get the kitchen sink. That was the whole point in going. The kids thought that would be fun. And so we really enjoyed it. We did get, real food too. My husband got a Reuben sandwich and I got a French dip and they were both delicious. The kids of course got macaroni and cheese because that seems to be a staple of their diet. Yes. And one of them did get the chili and cheese tots and they looked really good as well. And then,
Nice.
of course, the kitchen sink. It was delicious, and we could not finish it.
Oh, it's so fun when they bring it out. Were your kids so excited?
They were. My oldest was a little bit overwhelmed with the whole, like, they turned the lights off, and it was a whole big thing. She doesn't like attention being drawn to herself, but she was happy when she was eating, piles of ice cream after that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's such a fun dessert. I love it.
Yes, it really is.
So what'd y'all do after dinner?
We just went back to the hotel and went to bed, and I packed the ponchos. I even have a note. I was like, and packed ponchos for the next day.
Yay, because, it's one thing to be wet at dinner, and it's another thing to be wet all day at a park.
Absolutely.
Two totally different situations.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about your first park day. What park did y'all visit?
We went to Hollywood Studios for our first day. So I woke up really early, like 6:30, because I had no idea how difficult or not difficult it would be to buy Genie. And so I got that purchased, and then I had some trouble figuring out, like, I've watched so many videos and so much stuff, but I still had some trouble figuring out, like, how do I actually pick what we want to do in Genie? So lots of refreshing and whatever. And it took me not too long. I mean, by 7:05, I had the first selection, but I really was like, I didn't know how I had done it. I was like, I got this by accident. So for the rest of the morning while we were getting ready, I was like watching my YouTube videos again, going, okay, well, how did I do this?
Right. Yeah, it is a little bit complicated, I noticed. I feel like it's changed from the first time I used it to find where to book your ride. Like, it is complicated.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like you need to have, or at least the way I used it, I feel like you need to have done a good job planning your just basic Genie day. I had picked just a whole bunch of stuff. I was like, oh, that looks like fun. And that looks like fun too. And why not this? And I really should have picked, like, I want these three, these are our top things, and only put that stuff in there so that I was getting better recommendations.
That makes sense. So what was the ride that you picked?
We picked Slinky Dog.
That's like the number one ride to get there.
Yes. And it's like the reason that we went to that park. The girls were like, we want to go ride Slinky Dog Dash first thing. So, and I couldn't get it until afternoon. So, but I'm pretty sure that was what my first selection was.
So about what time did y'all head over to the park?
We headed out at about 8, and we were at security about 8:30. So it didn't take long at all. It took me a little bit of time to figure out, just hauling a double stroller and all the stuff through security was a whole thing that morning. And then the lines were like, everybody was there right then. So it took us like 25 minutes to get through security and ticketing and all the things.
Yeah, that's a really popular park, and it's a really popular park for people to go early in the morning. So
yes. Yeah, it was definitely the most chaotic getting into the park experience. And I don't know if it was because it was our first day or if it was just that park.
It was probably just a combination of it all.
Yeah, probably so. So we got in and got through security and everything. And I was like, okay, well, now I really don't know what to do, because the lines were already decently long for things. I mean, like 45 minutes to an hour. And we had a breakfast reservation at Hollywood and Vine that was in about an hour. So I was like, well, that doesn't really leave a lot of time to do much. And yes, I found it in my note that at 3 we had our Slinky Dog Genie. So we just looked at the map, and I was like, okay, what's the shortest standby? And it was Lightning McQueen. So we walked all the way to the back of the park to go do Lightning McQueen with the kids. And I figured that would give me time to just sit there and figure out my phone.
Yes, that's really smart.
So that's what we did. It was really cute. The kids liked it. And we also, I hadn't mentioned to you before, but we had pre-done the DAS pass for my oldest.
Okay.
So she has arthritis, and so standing is very difficult for her for long term, but also so is sitting, because then her joints get stiff. And she also can't just be out in the sun for a long time. And so we have to be really careful about that. So I pre-done the DAS. So we had that. And so while we were in the Lightning McQueen, I also figured out, how on earth do you put yourself in a DAS pass line? So I put us in line for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway during that time.
So you had a lot going on, like Genie Plus and that's a lot.
It is. And I had heard other people had said, like, you don't really need Genie with the DAS, but I had no idea what to expect. And I feel like they worked very well together. And if we went back, I would get both again.
That's good to know. Yeah, because I've wondered I talk to people who either have the DAS Pass or they do Genie Plus. I think I talked to one person who did it together, but it's good to know that it works well.
Yeah, it was a lot of like juggling things on my phone, I will say, but it worked well for us.
That's great. I'm so glad to hear that.
So we finished up at Lightning McQueen, and then we headed over for our breakfast reservations. It's so funny because I remembered Magic Kingdom most from my times at being at Disney World. And I remember just like being able to get around the park, and it wasn't hard. And even as a teenager, my mom would just like turn us loose and let us go do something and then come back. And in Hollywood Studios, I was really struggling with figuring out how to get around. I should have had a paper map. The directions in the My Disney Experience app, I mean, it was just like, turn left at this. And I was like, well, I don't even know where that is. Like, is that a shop? Is that a street? Like, I don't know. So it took us quite a while. We did lots of walking too far, and I finally just broke down and was like, I need help. Somebody give me directions.
Yes.
And so we finally got over to breakfast and stopped a couple of times for photo passes. We had the memory maker, so we also got distracted along the way, but made it over to Hollywood and Vine for our breakfast.
So how was that?
It was really cute. It was another reason that we were doing Hollywood Studios first, was because my kids, when I first started talking to them about Disney, I was like, who do you want to meet? And they both were like listing all these Disney Junior characters. And I was like, I don't know if you can even meet those people at Disney. So you can at breakfast. And, there are other meet and greet options. But when I first started looking into it, they really didn't have a lot of that back from COVID.
Right.
So we had already, told them like, oh, we'll do this breakfast. So we really enjoyed the breakfast. It was really good. I didn't realize that it was going to be back to buffet. So it was back in its normal state. And it was really, like, we enjoyed it. I really liked the chicken and waffles, and my husband loved the cheesy potatoes. And it was just a lot of fun.
That's so great. And, I think character meals are such a great opportunity for your kids to have some one-on-one time with a character and not to be rushed.
Yes. And I mean, they came around twice. Like, they do, there's rounds, and they have a dance party, and then they flop sides of the restaurant. So the characters switch sides. And when we saw the characters twice for the first round, and then 3 times for the second round, I mean, by the time they were coming back for the third round, my kids were kind of like, hey, we're eating. Like,
yeah, we already saw you.
So, yeah. So it really, I felt like it was a good, good meal, and also like good interaction for the price on the meal.
That's wonderful. So what characters were there?
So there was Goofy and Vampirina and Doc McStuffins and Fancy Nancy. Fancy Nancy is the one that they were especially excited to meet.
That's fun. My daughter used to love Fancy Nancy. That's so cute.
Yeah, yes, all things are Fancy Nancy in our world right now.
That's great. Okay, so what y'all do after breakfast?
So afterwards, we had that DAS return time for Mickey and Minnie's, and that's not too terribly far away. So we just went straight over there, and the kids adored it. They loved that ride. And then we came out, and I knew that a cavalcade was coming. So we just kind of hung right there for a little bit, waiting for them to come by. And the girls adored it. They got a fist bump for Mr. Incredible. So you can't beat that.
That's cute.
So even though we had not been, we had done like a whole 3 things in the park by now, my kids were already they were hot and tired. And I was still having a little bit of trouble figuring out the app. Like, I had thought that I should have been able to book another Genie by this time. And I was having trouble figuring that out. And so I was just like, we have got to go sit down in the shade somewhere and figure out something. And I looked and again found a show. So we went over and did the Muppets because there's not a line and you can just walk in and it's air conditioned. So we went and did the Muppets while I, again, played with my phone and figured it out. And so while we were in Muppets, I was able to book a Lightning Lane for Star Tours with Genie, and then put us in the DAS for Beauty and the Beast. And so after that, we headed over to Tower of Terror. While we had been at Lightning McQueen, we'd been watching Tower of Terror, and we were like, hey kids, like, do you want to do this? And kind of like, oh, sure. Like, it just goes up and down. Why not? And I don't think they're ever going to forgive us. So I really don't. It was much more intense than I remembered. Like, I was fine and my husband was fine, but like, I stuck a 3-year-old on that thing. So we were testing out the height requirement. So she's like 41 inches, but we weren't sure if, she'd be the same 41 inches at home or,
right.
Parks. And so we're like, well, let's find out. And yes, she passed the height requirement just fine. And so in we went for Tower of Terror. And yeah, they hated the youngest, Evie. She was just like, not fun, not fun, not fun. So,
oh no. You
yes.
you never know if they're gonna like it. You might as well try.
Yes, and now they say that they liked it, but I was like, we are not doing that again. Y'all forget how scared you were in the moment. So we got off, and Evie was pretty upset with us, and she saw somebody with cotton candy and was like, I want that. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll start hunting. So thus began the search for cotton candy, which lasted quite a while. We went over to Star Tours that we'd had our Genie reservation for, and did that. Evie especially was like, she was tired. I was like, I understand why people say that they leave and come back for naps, but she's not a good napper. And I knew that, like, by the time we hauled all of ourselves out of the park and all the way to the room, like, she's not going to take a nap. She's going to want to watch TV or go swimming or whatever. Right. So I was like, if we can just power through until we had our Slinky Dog reservation with Genie, I was like, I think that she will make it. So we did Star Tours, and then I was like, there is no way. That was definitely a learning curve about walking back and forth across the park. I was like, there's no way I'm hauling all of us all the way back over to Beauty and the Beast. So we just sat there, and I canceled our DAS, which took some figuring out on how to do, and booked Frozen Sing Along. And again, just some more sitting and waiting until our return time, which I was pleased that there was plenty of shade and things like that, especially around the bathrooms to stick the kids in and do our waiting. So we did Frozen, and I went ahead and booked a Genie for Indiana Jones. Interesting, when we got over so we did Frozen, and then we went over to Indiana Jones, they weren't scanning magic bands at all. So even though I had a Genie for it, they weren't scanning. They had their little poles covered up. They weren't doing it at all. And they were just seating everybody. I'm guessing that it was because overall park crowds were down. Their lines were still hour long and everything, but it wasn't that bad in terms of crowds.
Yeah.
And so I had to go in and actually cancel the Genie so that we could redeem it and then book something else. So I booked Mickey and Minnie again because there wasn't anything else that we super wanted to do. And so that's what we did. And then I also did a Genie for Millennium Falcon. Oh, no, not Genie. Sorry. That was a DAS. Yeah. So after Indiana Jones, it was finally time for Toy Story Land. So the kids perked up and they're like, oh, yay, the thing we've wanted to be here for.
Yes.
So we saw the cavalcade again. That was always so fun that they were just around. I remember when Disney did like the big parades. I don't know how long they've not been doing that. I don't know if it's a COVID thing or not, but I remember it being like this whole event and you're sitting there and waiting on it and scoping out a spot like fireworks. And I love that just like it came and you watched it and then it left and you could just move on with your day. So we went over and did Slinky Dog. Apparently it had been down because we had to wait for them to run some test cars.
Okay.
So we waited like, I don't know, 5 minutes, not very long at all. Mm-hmm. So we did that. The kids wanted to ride it again, and that's when I learned that you can only do one Genie per thing per day.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I was like, well, maybe we can do DAS later, but like, let's just move on.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had, when you do the DAS pass, you can do some pre-selections if you do it before you get to the park.
Okay.
So we had advanced selections for Toy Story Mania and Alien Swirling Saucers. And so we went over to Toy Story Mania. And I did not realize, but it wasn't a problem this day, but they give you a return time on the pre-selections, and you're really apparently supposed to use that return time, just like you do with Genie. Like There's an hour, and you're supposed to be there. Whereas with, like when I put us in line for whatever else with the DAS, it doesn't matter when you show up. Like any time from that time until park closing is fine. You just can't book another one until you redeem it. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize that. And so we were like scanning in to our advanced selections late, and they just let it go. So that was nice because we discovered later on that doesn't always work that way. Mm-hmm. So went and did both of those rides, and the kids had a lot of fun. Bought some Toy Story toys because, the gift shop is right there.
Yep. Just sucks you right in.
We have some nice Slinky Dogs now. So we're still on the search for cotton candy, and like we were asking cast members, and they're like, I don't know. Do we even sell it in this park? I don't know. And I was like, okay, I saw somebody with it. So we mobile ordered Woodies just to kind of sit and wait. And we were able to pick up almost immediately, which was nice because I'd heard that they get really busy. Mm-hmm. We could not find seating though. We just kind of like perched on the side of a fence and leaned over a trash can kind of. Mm-hmm. So we got tachos and one of the Pop-Tart things, and the kids really liked it.
That's great. Yeah, their food's so good. I love Woody's.
Yes, I was impressed that they ate the tachos. Like I knew that they would do like chili cheese fries and things like that, but I wasn't sure that they would do it with all the extra toppings like the sour cream and the chives and things like that. But they did. They ate it and we're happy about it. So nice. I was glad. So still like at this, I have a note that there was still no lightning lane for Slinky, but now I know why that was the case. And the standby was 50 minutes. And I was like, there is no way. Like we knew we were running out of time with the kids because I mean, by this time it's like 5:30 in the evening and they are just running out of patience.
Yes.
It did not rain this day and it was hot. It was so hot. And I thought being in Texas, like we're still having 90 something degree days. I was like, oh, we're going to be fine at Disney. Like, look, the temperatures are in the 80s. It's going to be no big deal. No, it was so hot. So very hot and humid. I think
it's the humidity. It's ridiculously hot.
It is. Yeah. It turns out that 98 degrees plus like 98% humidity it's really intense.
It's worse than Texas.
It is. It is definitely worse than Texas. So I've never been so happy to come back and be like, oh, look at our dry heat.
I know.
So, yeah. So we walked over to Galaxy's Edge. We're not huge Star Wars people. Like my husband and I both have seen some of them, but the kids have seen none of it. And we were like, it'll just be fun to look around there. Somebody had also mentioned that there was maybe cotton candy over there, which now having been there, there's no way there's cotton candy over there. But we're like, okay, well, let's go look. I also wanted to try the blue and green milk. And we had that Millennium Falcon DAS. So we went and did that. And the kids really liked it. Evie, again, was not happy, but I think she was just really tired.
Yeah.
So we went and found somewhere else to rest over across from the milk stand and drank our milk. So we got one of each, and Evie pretty much stole the blue for herself, and we all just shared the green.
Did y'all like it?
We did. I liked both of them. Like, I preferred the blue over the green, but was fine with the green. Everyone else really liked the blue better. But again, the 3-year-old was like, this is mine. You can all share the other one.
Yep.
Yes. So we just kind of rested. And after we sat there for a while, they were in a much better mood. So it was just about time for that last lightning lane that I had booked for Mickey and Minnie's. So we headed up front, stopped for some more pictures. We had kind of talked about maybe doing the Disney Junior Dance Party stuff, but that's mostly in the morning. So it was over. But all their cute little places where they meet were open and, just sitting there outside. So the girls, went up and took pictures in there and had a lot of fun and just ran around being kids.
Yeah.
So we did Mickey and Minnie's and loved it. And then I looked at the map and I was like, well, there's not really anything else that we want to do. We could hop, but we were like, that's fine. They're exhausted. We're going back to the resort. So we left.
And y'all took the Skyliner back?
Yes, we did. It only took like 20 minutes.
That's nice. So there wasn't a long line.
No, not at all. It took us, forever to figure out how to get that double stroller broken down and on there, but it was not a long line. And of course we got back and the kids were like, oh, look at all the energy we have. Let's go swimming. So we went swimming again.
It's just magic, right? You're like, well, I thought you were tired.
I know. Yes, but they were not cranky anymore. So
that's awesome. So did you notice if the parks got less crowded as the day went on?
No, I feel like they got more crowded as the day went on. Okay. That day was one of the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween parties over at Magic Kingdom. And I didn't realize that, when we were booking and making our reservations, but I am sure that as we were leaving, the park seemed to be getting busier.
Yeah, because they needed somewhere to go.
Yes.
That makes sense. So, yes. Because usually that part gets less busy as the day goes on. But, yeah, if Magic Kingdom's closing, they all have to go somewhere.
Yes. Yeah. So,
well, that sounds like
but,
such
it
a
worked
fun
out
day.
well. We did almost everything we wanted to do. So,
I mean, y'all did a ton of stuff.
Yes. And I really feel like we still stopped and sat and had breaks. And so even though we were tired, it wasn't an overwhelming day.
That sounds great. And y'all had a sit-down meal, so that always takes up time.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to your second park day, which was your third day of vacation. What park did y'all visit?
Magic Kingdom. So I kind of let the kids pick that we were going to Hollywood Studios first, but I was like, I want to go to Magic Kingdom. So we went to Magic Kingdom the next day. I got up not quite as early, but early enough to get Genie bought and then made a Genie reservation for Peter Pan with a 10 o'clock return time. So nice and early in the day, so we didn't have to wait quite as long for that. We are not morning people, but I was like, I really think that we're going to get up and get in the parks this day. And we also had I don't remember exactly what time, but early in the morning reservation for Cinderella's Royal Table. So I knew we wanted to get there and do something before breakfast. So I got everybody up and they were all excited and moving fast. And so we ended up over in the bus line at 7:30 that morning for
that's awesome.
The buses. So I was like, okay, well, maybe we are not quite rope dropping, but we'll be there before the park opens. So buses came quickly. The line was very long for the buses, but they just took over that Hollywood Studios line that nobody uses anymore because of the Skyliner. And they brought 3 buses to haul all of us over to Magic Kingdom. So it worked out really well. And we waited about 20 minutes total.
Mm-hmm.
So not too bad. And got through security much easier this day. And we were in the park by 8:25.
That's really good.
Yeah, so it worked out very well. And so we got inside and did some memory maker pictures and things on Main Street because I just couldn't pass them up. And then I put us in the DAS line for Seven Dwarfs, which was already, before the park is officially open, at a 60-minute standby.
That's so funny.
So I was like, oh my goodness, well, I might as well just start with that.
Yes.
So we went and did scanned in for the early entry to cross over into Fantasyland. And the kids were like, we want to ride the teacups. So we went and did that. And then as soon as we got off, they were like, let's do it again. So we rode them twice. And then they would have loved to ride them again. But I was like, hey guys, we don't have very long before we, have things to do. So then we walked over and did Dumbo again. So 2 rides, but 2 times each before the park really even opened. So
That's
that worked out very well. Yes. So while we were on Dumbo, the second time my phone was like, hey, it's time to go check in. So as soon as we got off, we headed straight over to the castle. Once we got there, it was so funny. My oldest, she does not like attention being drawn to herself. So we got in there and she was like, I am not meeting Cinderella. And I was like, okay, that's fine. You can stand here and watch your sisters do it.
Uh-huh.
And so we went in and met them. They were ready for our reservation right away. In fact, we got in there a little bit early for it. And we loved the experience. It was so fun eating in the castle. My husband and I loved the Mickey-shaped muffins that they had.
Uh-huh.
And the girls loved the chocolate. I don't know if they're croissants, but it's bread, pastry, and chocolate.
Yeah.
So they liked it. I don't love really pastry-like or heavy syrupy things for breakfast. So my meal was the beef tenderloin with eggs. And the eggs is a frittata with broccolini. And it was so good. I would have eaten that for breakfast or dinner or anything. It was so good. And my husband really liked it too. Yes, it was delicious. And then he got shrimp and grits, which I don't really like grits, but I loved his meal. So we were both enjoying what each other had ordered. And then the kids had, your pretty traditional Mickey waffle and bacon. They had several other choices for sides, but my kids were like, we want scrambled eggs. And the only egg thing on the kids menu is an egg white frittata, which I was like, they are not going to eat that.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're not very adventurous.
Uh-huh.
And that's not exactly exotic. So, so we had that and we were in and out of the castle in just about an hour. So
that's great.
Did not take long, but it was a delicious meal.
That's so good.
So after that, yes, we were very pleased. I figured it was a good experience and would be fun regardless, but I'm glad we did it.
Yeah, it's so beautiful inside the castle. When me and my daughter did it, the menu was different because your food sounded way better than what I got. But just eating in the castle, it was so beautiful. I think everyone should at least do it once.
Yes, it was definitely a fun experience.
For sure.
So we left and went over to Sir Mickey's, which I didn't really realize where we were. We were just in a gift shop. The girls had some souvenir money that they wanted to spend. And I saw the cute little photo area in the back of it. And I just wanted to mention it because I didn't know it existed.
Mm-hmm.
I thought because all these kids were coming over from Bibbidi Boppity Boo, and I thought it was something with that. But turns out anybody could have done that. And it was included in our photo pass. We could have just set the kids up for a cute little photo session. So I just wanted to throw that out there because we will definitely do that next time.
That's a great tip.
Yeah. And it's free. Especially if I had realized that it's just this free photo session with cute little backdrops and props and everything. So my middle daughter got a princess hat and veil, and my oldest daughter, she loves Princess Anna. So she got a Princess Anna dress with long velvet sleeves. And I was like, honey, it's already like 95 degrees outside. And she's like, I want it so much. And I'm showing her all these like short sleeved ones. And she's like, no, this one. So we got her the long sleeve velvet dress, and the youngest got some costume jewelry. And we headed out with her in the dress to head over to Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
That's so fun.
Yeah, we of course took some pictures there at the back of the castle and had a lot of fun. So it was
sweet.
Not a long-lived thing in the park that day, but she enjoyed it.
Oh, that's really sweet.
Yes, and I figure, how long is she going to be interested in wearing a princess dress like that?
Absolutely.
So we went over and did our 7 tours, and we, of course, were scanning in with DAS, and it was like a 5-minute wait.
Wow.
And so not long at all. The standby was still, like an hour long. And while we were in line, I booked Barnstormer with our Genie, and it was ready to go in like 10 minutes. So I knew that we could get off of Seven Dwarfs and head straight over there. And then as soon as we finished up, we went across to Peter Pan because that was our first Genie from the day, and rode that. And I had also, somewhere in all of this, because like I said, I'm spending a lot of time on my phone sorting out all of our reservations.
Yes.
I also booked a DAS for Big Thunder Mountain. And then a little bit later, I realized I didn't have it anymore. You really have to pay attention and click all the way through all of the buttons in a DAS selection.
Mm-hmm.
There's a button at the bottom where I think it says, yes, reserve this. And then there's another one where it says, see my day. And I think I had just been like, I don't want to see my day. I'm going to go do something different. And clicked away instead of reserving it. So we went and did Peter Pan, and the kids wanted to ride the carousel. So they went and did that, which was a, really quick, like 5-minute wait.
Mm-hmm.
And then on our way to Barnstormer, after Peter Pan and the carousel, we finally saw the cotton candy that we had been searching for from the day before. So we had to stop for that.
That was a long journey.
It was. She saw it and she just started screaming. She was like, Mom, it's cotton candy. And I was like, okay, we will go buy some right now. And you can just have your, sugar for the rest of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So Barnstormer was, in the back over there in Fantasyland, and we did that really quick. Standby was only 15 minutes. And so when they got off, they were like, we want to do this again. And I was like, okay, y'all can go do that. So my husband took them, and I went and I needed to check in with some clients. So went and did some work for a few minutes while they rode. And then I booked Haunted Mansion with Genie for that afternoon. This was about noon. And so I booked Haunted Mansion for 1:40. And then after Barnstormer for the second time, the kids got off and they played in that splash pad area over there in the, I don't know what you call it, the big top area.
Yeah, the Storybook Circus.
Yes, Storybook Circus. Yes.
That's so fun.
So I didn't know that they had that, and they loved it. Of course, they're happy to get wet in that setting, but heaven forbid that we, get wet with rain.
Right. Because they got to choose to get wet.
Yes, exactly. So they ran around in that for a little bit, and then we headed over to Tomorrowland. We had one of our DAS pre-selections for Tomorrowland Speedway, and we scanned in, luckily, with like 1 minute to spare at 12:30. So scanned in and did that, and then we hiked all the way across the park over to Big Thunder. So while we were walking, I had done Mouse Pros for our dining alerts, and I got an alert that for the next day I could move our Ohana. I'd been so happy to get Ohana at all, and I had gotten like a 4 o'clock, and I was like, fine, we'll eat dinner at 4 o'clock. I will be happy with that because it had been a lot to get it. And we were able to move it to 6:30. So I was like, yay, dinner at an actual dinner time.
Yes, that's great.
Got that reservation scooted over and then rode Big Thunder.
Did your kids like Big Thunder?
They did. They liked it. They, of course, were already like, can we do it again? Because they've been doing everything again.
Yes.
And I was like, no, it's like an hour. I think it was like 50 minutes of a standby. And I was like, we're not riding this again right now. Maybe we'll come back. So we did that, and then went and got in line with our Genie for Haunted Mansion. So the kids were really freaked out in line for Haunted Mansion because it reminded them a lot of Tower of Terror.
Okay,
and they
yes.
were like, oh, it's dark and spooky, and what are you doing to us again? So we were like, no, we promise. Like, we were being the annoying people, like talking during that whole time, because I was like, I promise there's no drops. It's fine.
Yeah.
You'll be fine. So we got in there, and they were still like, all of them were mad at us. And then we got stuck in the cemetery. So they were really very unimpressed, but eventually Evie stopped crying and just went to sleep. So we're like, okay. Yeah. So we got off and, did some more pictures. I was really pleased with how many photographers they had for Memory Maker. I heard pretty mixed things, and I just didn't know what to expect. But there were plenty of options, and we never waited more than like 5 minutes to be able to take a picture. So did some more pictures, and then wandered back over and did Small World. I had a DAS that I had picked up at some point for that. So did Small World. My middle daughter did not scan in the second time. So as we were going through, I was like, hey, did you actually get your magic band to scan? And she was like, yes. And turns out that she did not. And I mean, the cast member that was standing there was like, oh yeah, it lit up. And I was like, yeah, it blew my brain. But I didn't know for sure. I just suspected. And so we did Small World, and the kids, they really loved it, which, I mean, I tolerate it. So I was glad that they had fun with it. So we did that, yay for air conditioning. And then we decided that it was time for snacks. But we also had a lightning lane for Pirates. So we hiked back over there, and we're like, we'll figure out food on the way. We saw the Festival of Fantasy parade on our way. And then as soon as we, got past the parade, we went and did Pirates. And we had an advanced selection for Ariel, but we had figured out at Tomorrowland Speedway, they had said something about like, you had just barely made it. And that was when I discovered like, oh, this is like a timed thing.
Yes.
And so I didn't want to hike all the way back over to Ariel for a possibility of not getting back in. So we were just like, yeah, we will do that another time or another day. And so in Pirates, I discovered that Ada had not scanned that second time. And I was trying to book a DAS and could not get it. So I booked everybody else for Splash Mountain. I really wasn't sure what to do, but I was like, well, I'll book everybody else and then go ask for help. And so I booked us for Splash Mountain. And then I went and found one of the guest experience umbrellas while my husband went to go get Dole Whip for everybody and let them all take a break. So guest experience was great, and they were able to fix it. It did take some doing and took a few minutes to figure it out, but they got it fixed and got Ada out of the stuck in the Small World thing and got her booked with us for Splash Mountain. And that was just in time for a storm. So Splash Mountain, of course, went down, and we're just sitting there and we're like, there's nothing. And the kids are sitting over there with the, all of the stuff in that area, and they see the Aladdin's magic carpet, and they want to do that, but it's going down for lightning. And I was just like, let's just get somewhere and sit. So we went and just found some shade. It took quite a hike to get out of the weather. It wasn't a bad storm at all. It was just mostly lightning and some, sprinkles. So went and sat and ate some Dole Whip, and things were still down. So I was like, okay, well, what to do now? So I ordered Pecos Bill, and then we hiked over there, and I was like, let's get some real food and not just Dole Whip. And that we waited out the rest of the delay there. So our Splash Mountain had become one of those anything passes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, well, we'll do that later. And so we went over, I had also booked a Genie for Jungle Cruise. So we went and did the magic carpets or went and got in line for magic carpets because that's, of course, the thing they have seen and want to do and cannot tolerate doing anything else. So we went and got in line, and then there was apparently more lightning. So we got back out of line. So they, of course, now have shut back down, Splash Mountain and Jungle Cruise. So we have 2 more anything passes because they've closed them down.
Oh my gosh.
And I was just like, okay, I don't know, again, what to do. I'm going to have to sit on the phone and figure this out. And so we went into Enchanted Tiki Room, which was so cute.
Yeah,
and it was there.
So fun.
I've never done it before, but the kids, even they were like, this is so cute and so fun.
Yeah.
So that was a good, again, air conditioned and got us out of the weather and just let us figure out what are we doing next.
Yeah, it's a great place to just go sit and relax and just enjoy some singing birds.
Yes. Yeah, I really didn't even know what it was.
Uh-huh.
I just knew it existed, and I was like, okay, well, I don't care what it is. We'll just go sit here. And I was pleasantly surprised with my, hey, it's an air-conditioned break. So
that's wonderful.
So we did that, and then we were like, well, everything is still down over there, and so we were like, let's go over to Adventureland and Frontier, and we'll come back to Frontierland later on. I said that backwards. Let's go over to Tomorrowland, and we'll come back to Adventureland later. So we headed all the way to the other side. It had stormed. We put on all of our rain gear that I was so glad that we had, and we got outside and it was like barely sprinkling by the time we actually got all the rain gear on. So we looked like crazy people because I was like, no, we put all this on, we're wearing it, and nobody else, like everybody had taken theirs off. So we're just like wandering around in our ponchos. So went across the park and went to the Monsters Inc. To the laugh floor.
Uh-huh.
And by the time we hiked all the way over there, Evie had gone to sleep. So we were like, we really wanted to stay for fireworks. And it's about 6:30.
Mm-hmm.
And we knew that there's no way she's going to manage to stay for fireworks unless she gets a snap. So John sat out there, and I was able to modify the reservation so that he and Evie were not on it, so that we could go do laugh floor. And then she got up about the time that we came back out.
Oh, that's
so
good. Yeah.
that worked very well. And then we went and did People Mover, which I remembered liking, and it was very cute. I feel like it's a fun, simple something, but very, unique to Disney.
Yeah, and it's
So
fun
we
too
went and
for
did
kids to get to go into Space Mountain. If they don't want to ride it, they get to go in there and kind of hear it. And yeah.
Yes, they were vaguely aware of Space Mountain, but none of them, our oldest is probably tall enough, but she is not going to go ride something unless her middle sister can go too. And so we just weren't even, that was not even on the table as a thing. So, I was telling them, I was like, we're inside of that thing right now. And after we got out, I think they got it because they're like, oh, that building.
Yeah,
so,
that's fun.
Yeah, so we did that. And then while we were on People Mover, I mobile ordered from Lunching Pad, which mobile order is so nice because, when you want food, you pretty much want it now.
Yes.
And so it was very nice to just be able to we got off a People Mover and I just walked over. John took the kids for a bathroom break and I picked up food.
It's so nice.
Yes, it's so handy. So they had chicken tenders that were If You Had Wings, which I thought was a cute name. And then we also got a couple of different Mickey pretzels. And then they also had a cream cheese stuffed sweet pretzel, which our kids turned their nose up to, but John and I enjoyed.
That sounds good.
And then we went over to stake out a place for fireworks, which I am not a claustrophobic person, but oh my goodness, there were so many people.
Yes.
And I thought we had gotten far enough away that we would not be packed in, but it was like I could barely move my elbows by the time fireworks were actually happening.
Yeah. That's
so
right.
We went over there. And I mean, we were sitting down for fireworks like an hour before fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
So we figured it was a good rest time and all of that. And as they were finished, we said, okay, guys, well, we can go over and we can do the Splash Mountain because they really wanted to do Splash Mountain. And, we can do Jungle Cruise, which they didn't know what that was or cared. But I was like, hey, we have the pass. Like, we might as well go do it.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, yes, let's go do all of that. So we did. We went over and did Jungle Cruise, which was cute. I feel like you lose something in the dark, though.
Yeah, because it's hard to see.
It's hard to see. Even though it's lit, it's just, I do remember that one from being there before, and I was like, I just can't really see what I remember seeing last time. So we did that, and then we went over to Splash Mountain, and the kids loved it. So I think that was one of their favorites from the whole trip. And then after that, I could not believe that the two things, like by the time we, waited in the lightning lane, which the lightning lanes were still pretty long. I mean, I think we waited like 20 minutes in each of them because everybody had one of those return passes.
Right.
And so they were both pretty long. And then, at least for lightning lane standards.
Right.
And then rode the ride and then walked over to the other one. It had taken the better part of an hour. So I couldn't believe it, but it was like closing time. So we were headed out and stopped for one last picture in front of the castle. And then fortunately we're able to hop on a bus right there. Like we didn't have to wait at all. We were the last people on the bus, but there was room for us and we got on and headed back to Art of Animation.
That's impressive. I've never heard of someone not waiting for a bus at the end of the day at Magic Kingdom.
I know.
That's impressive.
It was kind of a miracle.
I feel like y'all should be in some record book.
I was very pleased, and they did have to like work too. Like people had to shuffle and whatever, and we held kids in our laps. But I was like, I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't want
just
to
put
wait.
me on.
We will make this work. Yes. So
oh my
we
gosh,
were very packed, but on the bus.
So, what did your family think of the fireworks show?
They really liked it. I think they were also very overwhelmed by the crowd.
Yeah.
So I remember from when I was at Disney before, like I loved the fireworks. Like it was one of my best memories of Disney and I just loved it. And I remembered it being crowded and everything, but not quite like that. And I don't know. I think if we did Disney again, I would probably book a dessert party so that we do not have to fight the crowd quite as much. I was like, we'll just cut out some other dining to be able to do that.
Oh, yeah. I 100% think dessert parties are worth it if you can, just so you can comfortably watch the fireworks.
Yes. I mean, the kids ended up, like, we thought we would be fine with where we were at, and we had the stroller, taking up extra space and all of that, but they couldn't see by the time it was happening. Mm-hmm. And so they stood in the stroller because, even standing in the stroller, they're not as tall as an adult.
Right.
But even with that, they still couldn't see over the adults in front of us. And it was very overwhelming. Yeah. So I enjoyed it. It was fun. But then I've shown it to them on YouTube since then, and which we walked in with we had not seen it or watched it on anything. And so I showed it to them on YouTube, and they were like, is this the same show? They had no idea because it was just they couldn't really see.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah. So I'm glad we stayed, and I'm glad we did it, but it was a lot to be in that kind of a crowd.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, my husband's not a huge Disney fan, and it's mostly because of the times I've made him wait for fireworks and wait for parades. Yes. He does not like waiting in those crowds, but everything else we've ever done, he's like, oh, yeah, that's fun. But then it's the fireworks and the parades that doesn't do him in.
Yeah. I can only imagine what it would be like to wait for a parade now. So
yeah, not worth it.
Yeah. No, probably not.
No, it's just better to walk by and catch a piece of it.
Yes, for sure. I really liked the cavalcades because we, the rest of the time we just like caught them. We didn't really wait around on them. They were just like there, and we would watch it and then we'd move on.
Yeah, I agree. They're great.
Yeah.
So y'all just got back to your room that night. Did y'all any swimming that night?
No, and the pools were closed by the time we got back. So I think it was like 11:45 by the time we were back at Art of Animation.
Uh-huh.
And it's not a far walk from the buses to the building that we were in, but it felt like a long ways.
Yes.
When we were that tired. And I mean, we had just done literally from pre-open to after close. And we were exhausted.
That's impressive.
I don't know if we'll do it again, but
live and learn.
We loved it.
Yeah.
But it was a lot.
For sure. All right. So moving on to y'all's. Y'all did not do a park this day, right? This was your rest day.
No.
Okay.
Yes, so this was our rest day. Yeah. So we slept in, which was not really sleeping in with kids. I think that my youngest was up at like 7:30 that morning.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just had a very slow morning. So I had already, like on our very first day, I had done a grocery order and I'd gotten it, from Bell Services. So we had food in the room, which was, so easy with the microwave and refrigerator and sink and all of that.
Yes.
So we just ate in the room and lounged around. My husband needed to do some work and I needed to, check in with work and things like that. So we both did that while the kids watched Disney on TV. And then we went and did some more exploring. We had walked down to the Little Mermaid section on our first day, but had not done a lot down there.
Mm-hmm.
So we walked down there, which, oh my goodness, that is so far away from the rest of Art of Animation. I was like, I mean, we can't put a family of 5 down there anyway,
Mm-hmm.
but I was like, I don't know that I could do this walk if I didn't have a car. So
very, very
far away and very cute, but definitely a hike.
Mm-hmm.
So then we went and snacked at the Landscape of Flavors and, got some more pretzels and all the fun, Disney things. And then the kids, of course, were ready to swim. So I was like, okay, well, we did the big blue pool again because that's where the laundry room is. So they have a laundromat right there. And I was like, we have gotten rain on clothes that I hadn't planned on getting rained in and all of that. I was like, we are going to have to do some laundry. So did some laundry while they swam. And we just had lunch there at the poolside with, pizza from Landscape of Flavors, which, I'd heard so many things about pizza being not good at Disney, but I mean, it's not gourmet, but it's just fine. So did that, and my husband and I got, a drink from I don't know what it's called, but the bar that's right there, and enjoyed that and just hung out. Really, this is the only day that we got sunburned because I did not account for a reapplication on sunscreen like I should have. So,
oh my goodness. Yeah. It happens. Okay, so let's talk about what y'all did that evening.
So that evening, we went over to the Polynesian Resort and had reservations at Ohana. So we were really excited about this. We had very much wanted to eat at Ohana, and it was a very hard reservation to get. So we took the Skyliner over to Hollywood Studios, and then we grabbed a bus from there over to the Polynesian. And we got there a little bit early and we walked around and just enjoyed the resort. It's beautiful. It's definitely on my bucket list. So we'll see if we can ever stay there.
That's such a fun resort. I love it.
Yes. It's so pretty. And just, my kids were like, can we stay here? And I was like, yeah, not this time.
Yeah.
So we went and sat on the beach and they played in the sand and we just enjoyed it. And then, of course, it started raining. So we were able to run inside real quick, but it poured that night, like crazy poured. Even at Ohana, like they had like a table next to us that the roof was leaking. And they were like, oh my goodness, and obviously it rains in Florida all the time. So I'm sure that if that was a normal thing, they would have dealt with it. So crazy rain that night. And we loved our experience at Ohana. Like, this is going to be something that we will go back and do if we go back to Disney. So, of course, my children, they all got, macaroni and cheese and chicken tenders and french fries. I was really happy that they had kid options because I didn't initially present a kids menu. And then our sweet server came by and she was like, if they're not going to eat this, we can get them kid food. And I was like, yeah, we're going to need kid food. So
I didn't even realize that. That's actually really good to know.
Yes, I had heard that maybe they would, but then when they didn't give us a kids menu, I was like, oh no. What?
Yeah.
I mean, I knew they would eat the noodles,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't think they would eat anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was thrilled with the kids' food that they got, and they did eat the noodles. So they did. That was the only thing that we ended up ordering seconds of. They really liked the noodles. So they, picked at the salad and basically scooted around on their plate,
Mm-hmm.
ate the noodles, and then ate their food. But we loved it. I have nothing bad to say. We loved the dumplings. We loved the shrimp. The beef was amazing. I'd heard pretty mixed reviews on some of it. And I'm sure it's like a, day to day and all of that, what you'll get. But our beef was amazing. It was just so good. And of course I ate way too much and then went to the restroom to take my, all three little ducklings going to the bathroom, and then came back and she's like, well, I'll bring dessert. And I was like, oh, I forgot that there is dessert. I don't have any dessert space.
Yeah.
But we still managed to get a few bites of bread pudding in, and it was delicious.
Yeah, it's so yummy. All the food there is so good. I've always had a good experience.
Yes. So then we, left from there and just went out to the lobby because it was still pouring. And I was like, I have got to figure out how we're going to get back. And we knew that we wanted to take the monorail just because that would be a fun thing for the kids to experience.
Mm-hmm.
But the My Disney Experience app was like, you should walk to the next resort and grab a bus, and wasn't giving me any other transportation options. And I don't know things well enough to just guess and figure it out. So a very nice cast member there at the lobby helped us, and he was like, oh yeah, you should take the monorail to Magic Kingdom and then get a bus at Magic Kingdom to go back to your resort. Mm-hmm. So that is exactly what we did. That we made up for having had a fast bus the night before because we waited 35 minutes for a bus.
Yeah, that sounds
this
about
night.
Right.
Yes, so we made nice friends in line with us. My husband was talking sports, and I was sharing snacks out of my bag with the people behind us. So it was a nice bonding experience,
That's
but
fun.
a long line. Yeah. So we got back to the hotel and went to bed.
Well, that sounds like a fun day. I love off days. I think people should always take a rest day if it's in their schedule because it really recharges you for the rest of your trip.
Yes. Yeah. We could not have done our trip without a rest day in it. There's just no way.
Yeah, it's really needed if you can. I know sometimes you're on a limited schedule, but yeah, if you can make a rest day happen, make it happen. Okay, so we are on your fourth day. Was it your fourth day or your fifth day? Your third park day.
Yes, our third park day.
Okay, we'll go with that. It's your third park day. What park did y'all visit?
We visited Epcot this day. So there were some hiccups to this day, and it was just we made the best of it. But the original plan had been to go to Epcot this day and then hop over to Hollywood Studios and let the kids do their favorite things again, maybe do Beauty and the Beast since we missed it, and then come back to Epcot for the fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the original plan. We had planned to get up and be at the park, before it opened with those early hours, and none of that happened. So I got up very early to be able to buy Genie, and the plan was to buy it, get everybody up and dressed, and then be making our Genie reservation on the way out the door. But there was a glitch with My Disney Experience this day.
Oh, no.
And the whole app was down. The website was down. Everything was down. And I should have just been like, it's fine. We'll just get ready and go on in. But I just got overwhelmed with it and sat there and fiddled with the website and, deleted the app and reloaded the app and logged in and all the things. And basically I finally gave up at like 7:15, and I called Disney because my concern now was like, okay, fine, we'll live without Genie. We won't get in the Guardians virtual queue. Like, we won't do any of that, but I don't know what our DAS pre-selections are.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I've got to call and ask what these are. So I get on hold with them, and I'm like wandering around telling everybody to get up and get moving. And about the time that, like right before the person picked up on the line, I was like, I'm just going to try one more time. And I logged in, and sure enough, I was in. So she answered, and I was like, yeah, I thank you so much, but I don't need you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And we got out. So we headed out for the park at like 8:30. Mm-hmm. So it was definitely a much delayed from our plans, and headed over there with the Skyliner. When we were headed to the Skyliner, I got an alert that they were reopening the Guardians of the Galaxy virtual queue because the app had gone down. So
that's nice.
They reopened it, and we, got in. I knew that the youngest couldn't do this, so I was just trying to get it for my husband and big girls. And we did get boarding group 52. Spoiler alert, we didn't end up doing it. That's a whole thing later, but I got a boarding group. So we headed over there and got into Epcot. My youngest had some trouble with her fingerprint, and so then we had to have somebody come over so I could change it to mine, and it was a whole thing. But got in, and then immediately saw Daisy Duck, and the kids were so excited, so they met her. And while we were waiting for that, I got us in a DAS line for Rennie's. So standby at that time was like 30 minutes, so not bad at all. And so we did some pictures and kind of just meandered over there and got to our DAS at Remy's and did that. And then from Remy's, we headed over to Frozen. So we did not plan out our walking through Epcot very well, and I had not realized quite how big Epcot was. Yes. So yes, headed over to Frozen because that was what I had our Genie for. So basically this day we made many trips back and forth around the world, and the kids really wanted to face paint. And I knew that there was a place in Epcot to face paint. This is like one of their top things they wanted to do at Disney. So as soon as we finished Frozen, we had the kids meet Anna and Elsa because I would like to not have face painting for that. And then we headed over to Africa, and they did face painting.
That's so
and
fun.
It was, yes, so cute. My middle daughter still has glitter in her hair from that experience. I cannot get it out.
That's great.
Yes, they loved it so much. And of course, we were, gathering random, like my husband ate from Morocco in the middle of all of this and things like that. So we were definitely enjoying food and popcorn and pretzels and all of this while we were wandering around. We had drug that Anna dress that my daughter just had to have into the park and put it on her. She wore it to ride the Frozen ride. But then a sweet cast member was like, "Oh, Anna, I didn't realize that you were coming in." And she just freaked out and was tearing the dress off. And she was like, "Take it off of me. It's embarrassing. I don't want people to notice." And I'm like, "Well, you're dressed like Anna. They're going to notice." So we got called to Guardians right as we were in our face painting line. And the girls, I knew that they were just they cared about face painting and not much else.
Yeah.
So we did not go over to Guardians. They were also hungry. So the plan had been let's get face painting and then let's eat. So we skipped that. It was one of those things that we were like, if we can do it, fantastic. And if not, that's just fine. Yeah. So we skipped that. And then we headed back over to France because I really wanted the lobster bisque over there. And so we, again, ate as we walked. My husband got some stuff from Germany, which I am not I don't drink very often, but they had a pineapple Hefeweizen. I don't know. It's some kind of a beer in Germany. And it was so good. I was like, I will drink this.
Yeah.
He was like, that's not really for you, but okay. And so anyway, we were really enjoying all of the food, much more than I remembered enjoying Epcot. So went and did that, did the Beauty and the Beast sing along while they did that while I ate my lobster bisque. And then we went and did Remy's again. So they just really wanted to do it. And I was like, okay. So we did that. And then we headed to the front of the park. And the plan was to do everything in the front of the park and leave. But we also knew that we were pushing it on time because we had planned to go into Hollywood Studios. So we went and did Soarin', and I booked Test Track. And we got off Soarin' and went and did Living with the Land. And about that time, we discovered that it was raining outside because everybody's coming inside with their ponchos on. And I had apparently not learned my Florida lessons, and our stroller was sitting outside without its cover on it.
Oh, no.
So I knew all of our stuff was getting soaked, and we have none of our rain gear with us inside. So we were like, well, let's eat again. It seemed like the only thing we did that day. So let's eat again at Sunshine Seasons there, just to kill time. So we did that, and I was booking stuff for over in Hollywood Studios, but of course, because of the rain, a lot of things were down, and like Slinky Dog was, and that's what they really wanted to go do. So I had set up some reservations for over there, but the rain it was complicated. So I looked, and my Disney Experience said that the Skyliner was running. So we said, let's skip all the rest of the stuff we had planned for Epcot, and let's head back over to Hollywood Studios and just go and wait out the storm and do that over there. Well, it turns out that the Skyliner was not running. So we did Nemo and Turtle Talk with Crush. And by this time, my middle daughter that does not like wet is wet. And she's just like, let's go back to the hotel. And I was like, no, we're doing fireworks. Just hold on. We've done fun stuff for y'all. This is our day. So she was like, okay, we'll wait for a little while. And so we went and did the Beauty and the Beast sing along again because she was like, I want to go do that. And then as soon as we got out, she was just like, Mom, I just really want a dry place to sit down. And I was like, well, I don't think that exists. So I'm so sorry. So we got her in the wet stroller, and she kind of perched on top of shopping bags, and we did our best.
Yeah.
We told her we'll walk over. I really wanted to get a fry flight that was part of the Food and Wine Festival. And that was all the way past Mexico. So I was like, let's go over there, get the fry flight. We might get some stuff on the way. And then if it is still raining, we'll leave. We'll come back and leave. And she was like, okay, that sounds great. So we started meandering. And I mean, by this time, it's like 6:30 at night. So it wasn't like we had that much longer to hold out.
Right.
And so we started heading that way. We, got more food. My husband got a crepe in France, and then gyro, and I don't even know what all. We kept eating.
Yeah.
And we stopped off in Norway, and somewhere in all of this, I had booked Frozen again. So they rode Frozen again, which they were happy about. But as soon as that was done, they were all just like, get us out of here. And again, we probably should have listened, but we were like, no, this is our only day to do this. So stopped off in Mexico, got some more food, and then we made it over to where they're selling wings. And I had not realized that is like an indoor restaurant. And the only thing in there is the wings. They had a DJ playing music. It was a lot of fun. And so I was able to provide a dry place for her to sit.
Yay.
And so we sat there. I ran out in the rain and got our fry flight. And we sat there and listened to music and ate wings and fries and just hung out for quite a while. It was finally almost time to like set up for fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
And again, they were just like, we don't care about fireworks. It's still raining. And so the plan had been like, we'll just walk, we'll stop and watch some, and then just keep walking to the Skyliner and
Mm-hmm.
sort of watch as we walk. And that's what we did. We stopped for a little bit in Japan, but we didn't have a great view from where we were at. We had some trees blocking us. And so we stopped for a bit. But then when they all started crying, we were like, okay,
Yeah.
we have tortured y'all long enough. We will leave. And so we were able to go hop on the Skyliner before there was too much of a crowd and head back.
Y'all probably got lucky with that, though, because that line after fireworks for the Skyliner is insane.
Yes. And I mean, we watched it stack up behind us. And I think it was just because we kept moving and we were in line as the fireworks were ending.
Yeah.
So we beat a lot of it. So I don't really know what those fireworks look like, but you know, it's okay. We'll try again some other time.
Yeah, for sure.
So we went to bed that night, and the next day the plan was, this is our last park day, and we had planned to go do Animal Kingdom in the morning and then hop over to Magic Kingdom and just do our favorites. And that night we had a reservation for Be Our Guest.
Mm-hmm.
And I had gotten a Be Our Guest reservation basically because I wanted gray stuff for almost no other reason.
Uh-huh.
I was like, it'll be fun too, but I want gray stuff. So we got up that morning, Genie was working. And so I booked the safari for 9 to 10 o'clock. And then I went back to sleep. I was like, we're going to have a slow morning. We were very tired from all of our walking around the world we had done the day before.
Yes.
And then we got up, at like, I don't know, 7:50 and started moving around. And the kids were just not happy. They didn't know what Animal Kingdom was. And they were like, no, we did Epcot yesterday and hated it. And we want to go to, they were saying they want to do Slinky Dog. But I was like, well, what about Magic Kingdom? And they were like, yes. So I looked and there were reservations. So I dropped our Animal Kingdom reservation and picked up Magic Kingdom and was just like, okay, we're just going to go do what they want today. And that is exactly what we did. So I had all of these genies. I canceled them. Well, I had one genie,
Mm-hmm.
but of course we had like DAS pre-selections and I was like, that's fine. We'll just ignore them and go to Magic Kingdom. So we did a lot of the same things that we had done. Like we did Tomorrowland Speedway and Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. We did get to do some of the things that I wanted to do, like silhouettes on Main Street.
Oh,
So that's my favorite souvenir. Yes. And it really didn't take long. I had expected it to be kind of a lengthy thing, but it was so quick.
So fast. Yes. And I love watching them do them as well.
Yes. Yeah. And that was just so fun to like chat with them while they were working. Mm-hmm. And it was a fun experience. And then we had tried to get the Magical Friendship Fair, some kind of a show that they have at the castle. And we had tried so many times to do that the last time we were in Magic Kingdom and it just never worked. And then it got rained out and we were able to catch it as we were coming in. So that worked out well. So it was a good, like we enjoyed getting to go back over there and had a little bit of a slower experience in the park. Of course, it was much busier this day. It's now the weekend. So it was a pretty busy day in Magic Kingdom. So there was a lot more like stopping and eating as we went around and things like that. But I don't think we really did anything of significance that we had not already done. We did, all of the same rides and lots of pictures. We were able to do a lot of pictures that day. We did do Little Mermaid, which we had not managed to do the last time. And the girls thought that was very cute. And then we, of course, had some rain to manage, but it really wasn't that bad that day. So very manageable. So I thought it was interesting that my husband, he while I took my middle daughter to go meet Belle, nobody else was interested in meeting Belle. Well, they really didn't want to stand in a 30-minute line, but the 30-minute line was really more like 10.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting that they were like, it's 30 minutes. And it was definitely not. So they went and rode the carousel. And then while they were riding the carousel, they expected us to be gone for a long time. So they ran over into the Mickey's Philharmonic Magic. And they were about to go in. And because of the rain, they actually closed it. And
really?
I was like, that's so weird. But apparently the purpose was for a place for people to go stand. All the other rides were saying like, you can't stand in like our exits and in our doorways. So go across there and there's a place for you to go stand in the dry. So I was like, well, that's nice, but also frustrating that they can't do an indoor thing in the rain. So anyway, we grabbed some food and just rode out the storm. And of course acquired more Dole Whip because how can you not? And some more Mickey pretzels. And then we had basically stacked up. We knew we were going to go to dinner for Be Our Guest. And then the plan was after Be Our Guest, we would go do the Winnie the Pooh ride. And then we would go do meet the princesses at the Princess Hall right there. They really wanted to do that. And so we had a Genie for it. And then my husband wanted to do Laugh Floor. He had missed Laugh Floor the day that we'd been there before. And we were like, okay, so we'll do that last. And we're not going to try to watch fireworks because I was not going to fight that crowd again. And then we were going to head out. So we went and did our Be Our Guest reservations. And this was, it was a fine experience, but it was very long. So they were running behind. And so we checked in 5 minutes early for our reservation. And then we waited 35 minutes.
Oh, geez.
Yes. So, and there's nowhere to sit. So we're like outside, just like sitting on the sidewalk waiting. And so we waited 35 minutes. And during all of this, my youngest fell asleep.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so I was like, oh, she's going to miss it. And like, she was just completely out. So, I mean, yay, I didn't have to pay for her. But she slept through the whole thing. So we finally got in and we were seated in the Rose Room, I think is what they call it, which I didn't even know existed, but they told us about some, like, that there were hidden Mickeys and different things. And so there were things for the girls to look for and do. And it was just a long, long meal. So we were seated at our table for 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And we never imagined that. Like I did not expect that because every other meal we had for sit down meals was about an hour and we didn't feel like we were rushing or anything. And so I was expecting like an hour meal. I knew it was 3 courses, but sure, it's still going to be an hour or so. It was not. And so the kids were super done. That was a long time to just ask them to just sit and be still and quiet and don't touch things. And our food was okay. It was definitely a more experience thing than it was a go there for the meal. Whereas like, I felt like at Cinderella's royal table, like I loved my food. So you kind of got some of both. My husband had, for his appetizer, he had the duck and pork terrain, I believe. I don't know. My French is not amazing. But it was, I don't even know if it's supposed to be served cold, but it's kind of like a meatloaf. He didn't really know what it is. And it was cold. And
I don't think it's supposed to be cold.
No. And but we just had no idea because we were like, we don't even know what this is supposed to be. But he had a mushroom allergy. And so that was a little hard to work around at Be Our Guest. So, and we knew that, but it looked like there were plenty of other options. So he was just like, well, I'll just get this other thing. And then it came and we were like, oh, that's what that other thing is. That's interesting. So I really love soups, obviously, since I'd, been tracking down soups in other places, but my French onion soup was just like, it was okay. It wasn't awesome. And it was like not hot by the time I got it. It was warm, but not hot. So then our main course, he got the pork tenderloin, mostly because of his mushroom allergy. It was just one of the things he could actually eat. And it was pretty good. He enjoyed it, but I got the filet mignon and it was really good. I feel like Ohana's beef was better, but it was still, it was a good meal. I enjoyed that. But dessert was definitely the highlight of the whole thing. It was just hard because between every course, we were waiting quite a long time for the next one to be brought or anybody to come by. And we're like watching the time and we're like, we really we have 3 things to do and want to get out of the park. Right. And so we finally got out. And as we were headed out, the fireworks had already started. So I was just shocked because I'm like, we had like a 6:30 reservation. I never imagined that we'd be coming out during fireworks.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
So it came out, and that's about the fireworks are what woke up the toddler. So she woke up and she was like, oh, it's like dark and what's going on? So she was pretty unimpressed and she was just like, I want to go back to the hotel. And they were just, I don't know. It had been a long week. So we had decided like, we're definitely going to skip Pooh. And then we started trying to walk towards the princesses, but that area is just like, it's not super accessible. And I couldn't figure out where we were allowed to walk with the fireworks. And I was like, I don't even know if the princesses are meeting people right now because of the fireworks. And I don't want to fight the people that are over there to try to go figure this out.
Right.
And so we were like, well, we'll skip the princesses, which I still have not heard the end of that we skipped the princesses. So we were like, let's just go to Laugh Floor and leave. So we worked our way over there and then we got there and found out that you have to have a certain number of people to do the Laugh Floor. And we did not have a big enough group because everybody's over doing fireworks. And so we had to stand there and wait for fireworks to end and everybody to make their way over there for there to be a big enough group. So we were just really frustrated. We were like, we could have done the Pooh ride and then come over, or we could have done any number of things. So we did that. It was cute. My husband was glad we did it. And then we were like, that's it. We're leaving. And of course they're complaining the whole way out of the park that we had not gone to meet the princesses. And already making promises before we're out of the gates about like, next time we'll come back. There'll be a next time. Yeah. And we did not have a long wait on the bus. So that was really nice this night. And I had a whole new appreciation for it after that day. But the middle child that was so distraught about the princesses, she was so tired that she fell asleep on a stranger on the bus. So I was like, that is a whole new level of tired. And of course she was super sweet about it. She was like, oh yeah, I mean, these are my grandchildren over here. Like, it's fine.
Aw, that's so nice.
But I had looked over and she was sitting there talking to her about her Cinderella's Royal Table wand. And then I looked back over and I was like, oh, she's asleep on her shoulder. So
that's sweet.
Yeah. So we got back and now, of course, like it's 10:45 that we're finally back in the room. And now my 3-year-old is like, Mom, I'm hungry. And I was like, yeah, because you slept through dinner. So we rummaged around and we actually had leftover Ohana noodles from the other night. And so we just microwaved those and that's what she had for dinner that night. Yeah. So it worked well. And then we were all off to bed. So our next day was a Sunday and that was supposed to be our departure day. And so we had not packed much of anything. I had kind of stashed away some of the clothes that we'd cleaned that I knew we weren't going to wear, but I really hadn't packed. So we slept in and packed everything up. Sunshine Flyer had let us know that they were going to pick us up at 11:15. And our flight was not until I believe $250.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a decent chunk of time between pickup and drop off,
Mm-hmm.
which is fine, except we'd kind of booked our intention with booking an afternoon flight was that we hoped that the kids could like swim some that morning,
Yeah.
or whatever. And if I had planned ahead and packed, we probably could have pulled that off, but it just didn't work. So we went, after we packed up, we set our stroller out. I had been talking to our person with the Orlando for Families, and he was like, I will just come to your room and pick it up, just set it outside in the hall. So we did that, and then we headed out, and we walked over to the cars side of the resort because they'd been painting when we had walked through before, so they weren't anymore, and they had covered a lot of the different cars that you can see and things like that to protect them. So since that was all open, we walked over there and let the kids see it and take pictures and all of that. And then we picked up a few last minute souvenirs at the gift shop, and then Sunshine Flyer was right on time. And we headed to the airport.
How were the crowds at the airport? Like security?
They were not bad.
That's good.
Like not bad at all. Which was nice because we spent, 3 hours at the airport almost. So a lot of twiddling our thumbs and eating food that we didn't need to eat and things like that.
That's the bad thing about the buses is they have to get you there so that they know like you have enough time to check your bags if you're checking bags. And sometimes security is insane at MCO.
Right.
So they have to account for all of that. What I like to do is take a bus to the resort and then only schedule like a one-way trip and then take a lift to the airport so you can kind of get there later. But
yes.
Yeah.
I think that's what if we fly again, that will be what we do.
Yeah.
But we were talking about it, and I don't know. We're in Texas, so it's a 2-day drive basically, but I don't know. We will probably drive next time.
Yeah, the drive's not, I'm in Texas too. We've drove to Florida before. It's pretty easy. It's just like a straight shot almost. And so, if you have the time in your schedule, it's not a bad option. I've also, every single time I go to Disney, I swear I'm going to rent a car when I fly, and I never rent a car. And then I always regret it because sometimes the transportation is not great. I personally have terrible bus luck. I'm the person that has to wait an hour for a bus every time. So.
Oh, I would have given up a long time ago if I had to wait an hour. We would have called a minivan or something.
I'm like cursed when it comes to the buses. I just am.
That's terrible. That makes me feel so lucky because we really didn't wait that long on anything.
Yeah, like your bus situations I've never been in.
Okay. Well, I will stop complaining about that.
Even your Skyliner story, when we went, we had to wait an hour for the Skyliner one time. Granted, that was in 2021 when things had kind of just opened up more, but yeah, we waited an hour for the Skyliner.
That's crazy.
It was crazy.
Absolutely crazy. So, yeah.
I'm glad it's better though.
Yes. Really, it was crowded. Like the trip, like there were crowds, but I didn't feel like they were crazy. And I felt like, especially with Genie Plus, even if we hadn't had the DAS Pass, like it would have been fine.
Yeah.
We would have still been able to do everything that we wanted to do. And there were always Genies available for the things that we were booking the DAS for. So it's not like it really changed what we would have done. I don't even know that we'll go through the DAS process next time, honestly. So it just worked out well enough with just Genie to be able to do what she needed to have done. And it's just a little bit more flexible for the whole family.
I think that's a great perspective for people to hear too, because a lot of times you only hear the negative things about Genie. But I think people think it's negative because you have to pay extra for it, and they don't like that. But I think Genie is great. If you want to have a seamless park experience when it comes to lines and rides, Genie's the way to go.
Yeah. It was just something that we just accounted for in the budget. We were like, we're just we want to go and not have crazy lines and need to not have crazy lines for her. And so we're just going to figure it out. And it did it was $75 plus tax. which I had not budgeted tax. I don't know why. I just didn't think about it. So I had not budgeted tax in everything when I was thinking about Genie ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's not a big deal. And It was well worth it.
Oh yeah, I agree. I think it's totally worth it. Okay, so I loved hearing your trip tale. It sounded wonderful. Now let's go with what I always ask. What was your least magical moment?
Yeah, so it would probably be the tie between the rainy day in Epcot, which is, it's not Disney's fault, but it was a difficult day.
Yeah.
And I think that it was worse just because the app had been down that morning.
Mm-hmm.
So we were not managing to do everything like on the schedule that I thought we had planned.
Yeah.
And I obviously in retrospect know that I should have just gone on into the parks and it would have gotten fixed and it would have been fine. But at the time I was like, I don't know what to do without my Disney experience. So if it's not working, how do we do any of this?
Right. I remember hearing,
was definitely least magical.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that. And there were people at parks like trying to get in and their things weren't working because the park reservations were down. So
that's crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Afterwards I saw some articles like Google just prompted me on them and they were like, major website crash causes problems at Disney. And I'm like, yes, it did.
I was there.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, otherwise really I had nothing to complain about. Like it was a great trip.
Yeah. Sometimes the weather's just unfortunate but it can, and that's like reality in Florida. A bad weather day can make a bad park day.
Yes. And there were some, like watching people that were there after that, there were some big storms after that. Mm-hmm. And we managed to miss those. And obviously we're not there this week when they're having hurricanes. So I'm just going to count my blessings and be like, it's fine. We had one rainy day. It'll be fine.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, now what was your most magical moment?
It's just the simple stuff. Like, of course, everything was fun, but just seeing the girls light up with every little thing and like thinking that every single thing is like, can we do it again? They asked to do every single ride that we did again, for the most part. Like there were a few things like Tower of Terror that they will forever hate us for, but most things they were like, can we do it again? That was so amazing. And even seeing the characters, I didn't think that they would really get into that, but they just thought it was amazing. It was such a simple thing, but they absolutely loved spotting the characters on all of the Skyliner wraps. Yeah. And they would just be like, oh my goodness, it's Belle. We have to ride in the Belle one. And they just loved it. And it's not a moment, but just like the whole experience with taking kids. So it was just amazing.
That's wonderful. I love seeing Disney through kids' eyes. It's just sweet.
Yes, it really is.
So do y'all have another Disney trip planned or one in mind?
Well, we are talking about it. We don't know what we want to do. Mm-hmm. The kids definitely want to go back. And we just can't decide what we want to do. We've talked about maybe going to Disneyland or going to Disney World. Either one. We have some family in California, so we thought maybe we could go see them and do a trip. I don't know. And then we've also talked about a cruise, so we'll just have to see. And I've also heard that there are like land and sea things with cruises. So I have no idea, but we're definitely going back.
That's so fun. Well, Disneyland's amazing. So if you get a chance.
Yes. Well, and I did Disneyland a long time ago. I think that was 2007. So I've been there and I remember that I was like, even then aware that it was different, but still a lot of fun and, different things. So I've been looking at their maps and different rides and things. And I'm like, I think they really would enjoy it. But of course, just like they didn't want to go to Animal Kingdom because it was different, they aren't sure that they really want to go to a different Disney.
Yeah, it is. So I love Disneyland too because it's small and it's easier for kids, especially younger kids, because it's not so big and spread out and all over the place. And But yeah, I mean, Disney World is amazing. There's no way around it.
It's hard to beat it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know if I want to take us all the way to Disneyland and then there's some kind of a disappointment. And I'm like, well, why did we waste a trip?
Yeah. So. And they might be disappointed when they see how small Sleeping Beauty Castle is, because the first time my kids saw Sleeping Beauty Castle, they were like, what? That is small. And I'm like, guys, perspective. When they built this, it was big.
Yes.
Old.
Yeah, that is definitely a consideration.
Well, is there anything else you wanted to say about your trip, Rebekah?
No, I don't think so. It was a really good trip.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I loved talking to you and allowing you to share your travel tale.
Thank you so much for having me.
I hope you enjoyed Rebekah's travel tale today. She was such a delight to talk with. I absolutely love doing this show because it allows me to talk Disney. If you're wanting to support the show, there are 2 super easy ways to. The first is to leave a positive review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. The second is if you're planning to travel to Disney or Universal, you can use me as your travel agent. Check the show notes for details. Next week, I will be back with a review of Disney's Wilderness Lodge Resort. I stayed there back in September and absolutely loved it and cannot wait to share some fun details with you. So until then, this is Jenny, and may all your Disney travel dreams become a reality.